I heard a splatter sound. Looking towards where the sound came from, I saw a smashed dumpling sticking to my mom's cheek as she sat across from me.
Old hags and poor folks should stay away.
My mom wiped her face with a napkin, trying to look unfazed, but her expression was filled with disgust.
You're Sarah Murphy, handling foreign currency deposits at the New York bank, aren't you?
Yes, that's me. You don't seem to have dementia yet. Keep up a part-time work.
Right, I will remember you well until tomorrow.
My mom said this, then quietly stood up and walked away briskly ahead of me. My name is Jessica Jones, a 29-year-old office worker. Since graduating from college, I dedicated myself to my job and didn't date, but a few months ago, I got a boyfriend. His name is Charlie. He was the same age, introduced to me by a colleague of mine, and although he had a steady job as a banker, he was nice and gentle and a polite talker to everyone, so I felt comfortable with him. I would like to marry someone like him. I secretly thought to myself. With my desire, I thought it was too early to introduce him to my mom.
I'm Charlie. I've been dating Jessica for 3 months now. Nice to meet you.
Thank you for your polite greeting. You are a good man, too good for my daughter.
My mom smiled as she watched Charlie's polite greeting and his trembling hands presenting a gift.
Jessica is really kind and hardworking. I'm the one who's undeserving.
Is that so? She used to be such a klutz, a tomboy with short hair when she was little. Oh, right. Would you like to see her album?
Really? I would love to see it.
Wait a moment, Mom. My mom welcomed Charlie, and the three of us had a delightful dinner that day. After that, Charlie and I often visited my mom's house together. My dad passed away when I was a little girl, and my mom raised me as a single parent. Your happiness is my happiness, Jessica. Thank you for introducing Charlie to me, she would say, genuinely happy for my well-being. Seeing her happy face made me happy too. However, taking Charlie to see my mom too often made me worry that it might seem like I was pressuring him into marriage. I was considering marriage with Charlie, but I wasn't sure how he felt about it. When I told Charlie after visiting Mom alone, he said, "If you were going to your mom's, you should have told me." I was worried about her since she was feeling a bit under the weather last time, and I wanted to see her face. Plus, I wanted to talk about the movie she recommended. It turned out Charlie and my mom were getting along better than I thought. Given my mom's calm and gentle nature, they probably just clicked well. With work going smoothly and good relationships with my lover and family, I began to wonder if my life was going too well. 6 months into our relationship.
Jessica, for Mother's Day next month, shall we go out to eat? Just the 3 of us. There's a place I want to take you both. If you have plans just for the family, we can go another time.
Really? I love the idea, Charlie. Mom will be thrilled for sure. So, we decided to go out for dinner on Mother's Day. I thought about inviting my sister, but she was married and had little children, so we settled on just the 3 of us.
Oh, I thought I recognized this place. I love the Chinese food here.
Really? You knew about this restaurant?
Sure, I used to come here often, but Charlie, you really know my stuff. Finding a place I like.
Charlie blushed with the compliment. Having never been to this restaurant, I followed Charlie and my mom's lead. The restaurant was adorned with chandeliers and large lanterns, showcasing luxurious decorations. A waiter stood tall next to a large swivel table. I understood that this is a high-end Chinese restaurant.
Then, please bring us the special course I ordered.
Charlie said calmly to the waiter, watched by my mom with a beaming smile. I was probably the only one feeling nervous in this situation. As we were tucking into the dishes being laid out one after another, the dumplings were laid out on the table. The pleasant aroma of dumplings filled the air. Then, from behind me, a high-pitched woman's voice rang out.
Charlie, right? What are you doing here?
You are, Sarah.
Charlie's face turned pale in an instant. I turned around to see a smirking woman standing with her arms crossed.
So, you left our bank and had the nerve to come here. You must have settled for a small regional bank, huh? Can you even afford this?
Charlie stopped his chopsticks and looked down slightly.
That's none of your concern, Sarah. Besides, we are in the middle of a precious dinner, so please stop.
Charlie's voice trembled slightly.
My apologies for interrupting your precious dinner.
Sarah said, scrutinizing my mom and me with a lingering look. I met her gaze. Excuse me, may I ask who you are? Sarah laughed again.
I'm Sarah Murphy, a former supervisor of Charlie at New York Bank.
Sarah seemed to take pride in her association with her workplace.
Oh, New York Bank, as in the major one.
My mom looked at Sarah with surprise, which was understandable since New York Bank is one of the biggest banks. Working there implied a high level of prestige. As we were struck dumb, Sarah let out a derisive laugh.
Look at you, amazed just because I work at New York Bank. How low have you fallen to dine with such a poor family?
When Sarah said that, Charlie, who usually speaks slowly, spoke louder.
How can you say such things to my loved ones? You should take back your words.
Sarah continued to snicker, even as Charlie grew angry. I tried to calm Charlie down for the moment. It was the first I heard of Charlie working at New York Bank, but I knew he had changed jobs due to harassment from a superior at his previous bank. He had been pursued by a married woman who was his mentor at the bank where he first got a job. When Charlie firmly rejected her advances, she started to blame him for her mistakes and even deliberately lost documents he was responsible for, subjecting him to severe bullying. Eventually, Charlie couldn't endure the harassment and resigned. This is the woman who was Charlie's new employee mentor. So, you're the one who drove Charlie to resign?
What are you talking about? I just honestly reported to the boss that Charlie couldn't do his job. I was merely fulfilling my duties as the mentor for dropouts.
You were just his new employee mentor, but you were very close to him. My words made Sarah pause momentarily. She seemed to realize that Charlie had told me everything. Then she blinked and furrowed her brow.
Who are you talking to? I'm a different class of person from you people.
How are we different in class?
We are entirely different. An elite like me working in the foreign currency deposit department of the major bank. A man who has dropped out of the elite and works hard all his life for little pay. And a woman working for some dirty small to medium enterprise. And an old hag who works part-time. I am not someone you can casually chat with.
Sarah's harsh words naturally made my jaw clench and my teeth grind. She looked at us and laughed heartily.
I feel sick sharing a meal in the same place as you. I'll forgive Charlie for old times' sake, but can this low-class family leave now?
I was at my breaking point and almost slammed my napkin on the table, but my mom stopped me.
We will leave once we finish our meal. Please go back to your seat without minding us. Your food will get cold.
Looking at her table, there was only one set of dishes laid out. My mom's words implied, eat alone and be miserable. Considering the conversation over, we turned back to our table and picked up our chopsticks again. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow hastily reaching for a plate.
You guys are a burden on society.
The next moment, I heard a splat sound. Turning towards the sound, I saw a smashed dumpling sticking to my mom's cheek, sitting across from me.
Old hags and poor folks should stay away.
Hey. How terrible could you do that?
Are you okay, Carol? I'm so sorry, someone.
Charlie was about to call the restaurant staff when my mom stopped him.
It's not right to throw food, especially something so hot.
While she wiped her face with a napkin trying to remain calm, her expression was full of disgust. Sarah laughed loudly at this sight.
Let's just leave. This meal is ruined anyway. You're Sarah Murphy from New York Bank, handling foreign currency deposits, right?
That's correct. It seems you don't have to worry about dementia yet. Keep up a part-time work.
Sure, I will remember you well until tomorrow.
After saying that, my mom silently stood up and walked away briskly. Her cheek was red, so we decided to stop by a doctor for treatment on our way home. Charlie apologized many times for the day's events, but my mom, with a smile, said, "It's not your fault, Charlie. No need to apologize anymore," and she forgave him generously. I was curious about my mom's words, but their meaning became clear the next day. The following day, while I was at work taking my lunch break, I received a call from Charlie. He usually didn't call during the day. Thinking something must have happened, I quickly answered, and Charlie's voice was trembling.
Who the hell is your mom?
What are you talking about?
I received a strange call this morning. The content was bizarre, but it seems my seniors already know about it.
Charlie was panicking, his thoughts jumbled as he spoke. However, unable to understand what Charlie was trying to say in his panic, I decided to listen to his story after work. We decided that if it was matters involving my mom, we would talk about it with her as well, so we headed to my mom's house.
Hi, Jessica, Charlie. What is it? Craving my baked potato again.
Baked potato, I love those. But no, that's not why we're here. Was it you who called my bank expressing interest in doing business?
Really? Is that true, Mom? While tying her apron, my mom smiled mischievously.
That's right. I'd like to do business with your bank from now on, my dear banker.
Charlie looked utterly flabbergasted. Charlie? What business? As I asked, Charlie took a deep breath, trying to calm himself. Then, the doorbell rang.
Just in time. Come on, you two, join us.
What? When my mom opened the door, a tall man followed by a smaller, hunched-over Sarah stood there. Why is the president of New York Bank here? The man, sweating and offering a luxurious gift, appeared to be the president of New York Bank.
We are here because of the sudden account closure. What has happened?
I have decided never to do business with your bank again.
My mom stated with an unusually sharp tone, uncharacteristic of her usual gentle demeanor. The president was in a panic. His shirt collar soaked with sweat. My eyes met Sarah's, but Sarah quickly turned away.
Please let us know if there is anything we can do. However, we earnestly request you to reconsider the cancellation of the $150 million deposit.
So, the phone call I received this morning wasn't a lie.
Charlie murmured, eyes widening in realization.
You were the ones who refused, right, Sarah Murphy? You said our classes as people are different, that you feel sick being in the same space as someone lower class like me, right? Then you wouldn't want to hold on to my money either.
That's not what I meant.
Sarah struggled for words, her eyes darting around. The bank president turned sharply towards her.
Did you say that? Do you not know who this woman is? She is Carol Jones, one of the top 3 investors in the USA. A legendary figure.
Indeed, my mom was a well-known legendary investor. With a net worth of several billions of dollars, had entrusted $150 million for management to New York Bank. However, due to the incident with Sarah, she decided to cancel this deposit. Realizing the gravity of her actions, Sarah trembled.
What are you doing? Apologize to her.
The president forced Sarah to apologize.
I am truly sorry.
My mom watched them apologize with a quiet disdain. However, her words cold.
No, I will not forgive you. As I have already decided and mentioned on the phone today, please transfer my deposit to the designated bank by the end of this month.
I am so sorry. Please, I beg you to reconsider. I didn't know who you were and were rude, but such an incident will never happen again.
If you judged people by their appearance and acted so rudely towards them, then I can't trust you.
Sarah swallowed hard at my mom's sharp words, collapsing to her knees.
Please, I'm really sorry.
I was astonished to see two adults, Sarah and the president in a suit, apologizing profusely to my mom. However, my mom did not nod in agreement at all. Sarah, realizing she was not forgiven, looked up. Then, making eye contact with me and Charlie, she crawled over. What are you doing?
Jessica, Charlie, I'm so sorry. Please forgive my rudeness.
Sarah continued to apologize loudly, dripping with sweat. Then she gave a creepy smile and started talking to us.
I never thought Charlie would be dating such a high-class daughter. You are something. Birds of a feather flock together.
Charlie's brows furrowed naturally upon hearing Sarah's words. Then, the president asked, "Excuse me, do Charlie and Sarah know each other?" Sarah visibly paled at the president's question. Charlie clenched his fist tightly and took a deep breath.
Yes, I used to work at the New York bank a few years ago. Sarah, here was my new employee mentor.
Is that so? Well, if you're interested, would you consider working at New York Bank again? We can certainly offer you a very good position.
The president suggested it to Charlie with a smile similar to Sarah's. However, after a brief silence, Charlie looked straight at the president and said,
No, thank you. I don't want to be one of the mentor's forced affairs. And I will never return to the New York bank, where it is common for junior employees to take responsibility for their boss's mistakes.
First affairs. Taking the fall for mistakes. Sarah, can you explain this?
Sarah turned deathly pale, while, conversely, the president's face turned red.
Well, that's...
Do you realize what would happen to our bank if this comes to light?
However, I realized that the president's concern wasn't just about the bank. His anger was different from that of a boss who scolds his employees. It was a look of contempt and sadness directed at Sarah. Excuse me if I'm mistaken, but could it be that you, the president, also have something with Sarah? When I asked this, the president looked down quietly. And then, drops of water different from sweat fell to the floor.
You said I was the one you were meant to be with. We are both married, but it was just that we met too late.
Could it really be? I was speechless at the shocking turn of events. While we were taken aback, the president confronted Sarah, who had been having affairs at work despite being married. Moreover, she was using these affairs not just as flings, but to continue her relationship with her boss to advance her career. Sarah just hung her head in shame. The president was devastated by the shock. Learning the truth, I felt a rush of anger. You sure looked down on us, didn't you?
Well, I have a prestigious education and landed a job at New York Bank.
And you think engaging in such despicable acts makes you elite?
I just wanted to climb the career ladder.
Sarah's eyes darted around, searching for an excuse. You just admitted that you're incompetent and can't do your job.
Well.
You judged us solely by our appearance, calling us poor, but no matter how excellent your education or career might be, what you've done is morally bankrupt. Now, you will face the consequences. After a moment of silence, my mom chuckled and clapped her hands loudly once.
That's the end of that. Don't come to my house anymore, and don't contact me unless it's to arrange the payment. Now, if you understand, please leave.
Then, the president walked away listlessly, followed by Sarah. After they left through the front door, I watched them go for a while. Their aura was heavy and gloomy. Afterward, my mom's $150 million deposit was successfully transferred to the bank where Charlie works, and the matter was settled for the time being. Charlie's reputation at the bank improved due to this, and it seems certain he will be promoted in 6 months. On the other hand, according to a former colleague of Charlie, Sarah was fired after the incident. Her sudden dismissal became a topic of conversation among the bank employees, sparking rumors that something had happened. Then, someone well-informed about the affair between the president and Sarah was exposed in the bank. Furthermore, the wives of her other married lovers demanded alimony from Sarah. As a result, her affairs were revealed to her husband, leading to her divorce. Sarah was in debt for alimony payments and had lost her family. She confessed her affair with the president to the president's wife herself, saying, "It's not fair that I'm the only one who's unhappy." The wife calmly dealt with the confession and demanded alimony from Sarah. After this backfire and accumulating more debt, no one has seen Sarah since. 3 months have passed since then.
This Chinese food is always so delicious, but it would have been nice to make up for Mother's Day. After all, Charlie and Jessica weren't at fault.
But we couldn't finish the course meal that time.
Right. This is my way of making it up too. We returned to the high-end Chinese restaurant to make up for that day, the 3 of us dining together again. We just hope for more peaceful days like these.
By the way, Charlie, even if you and Jessica break up, I have no intention of changing the person in charge of my deposit. I dislike relationships where love isn't judged fairly.
Hey, Mom, what are you talking about? We're not held together by convenience. If we break up, it'll be clean and clear, right? Charlie's face turned red even though he hadn't drunk any alcohol.
I vow this first. Unless Jessica dislikes me, we won't separate.
Right, Charlie, you are passionate, just like Jessica's dad when he was young.
As I listened to this conversation, I looked in the mirror decorating the restaurant and saw my face had turned the same color as Charlie's, even though I hadn't drunk any alcohol.
A poor single parent is not needed. The bank doesn't have time to deal with poor clients like you. Just go ahead and close your meager accounts.
Mara and her mother sneered at us with a mocking grin. Mom, let's close the account.
We'll go to the bank tomorrow and discuss properly closing the account.
As promised, the next day we went to the bank to close the account. My name is Madeline Sulk. I am at 20. I'm working as part of the opening staff at a newly built nursing home, along with my 46-year-old mother. However, my mother's job as a care worker is not her main job. She is the chairperson of the medical welfare group that manages several nursing homes. Currently, she's helping out temporarily at the new nursing home because it's short-staffed until we can gather more care worker applicants. My grandmother initially led this medical welfare group as the chairperson. 5 years ago, when she was 70 years old, she retired due to old age. My mother, who had been the director of one of the nursing homes, took over the chairpersonship following my grandmother's retirement. It's been only 5 years since my mother became the chairperson of the medical welfare group. To support my busy mother, I didn't go to college, but started working on site after high school graduation. While I was busy, I was living fulfilling days. My grandmother founded the medical welfare group at 30 and expanded the business significantly after the introduction of long-term care insurance in 2000. My grandmother, who gained attention in the welfare industry as an accomplished female president, lost my grandfather to illness shortly after giving birth to my mother. My father also passed away when I was young, so our family of 3 women has been supporting each other. Now, I want to expand the business that my grandmother built along with my mother, the current chairperson. With that in mind, I was working hard at the newly established nursing home. One day, I received a postcard at home announcing my alma mater's reunion. Since my mother and I graduated from the same school, we received 2 copies. The postcard, in poppy lettering, read, "All graduates of New Green Girls School, let's gather." "Mom, what's this postcard? It's so colorful!" I exclaimed, snatching it from her hand. "A reunion. You must be 20 years old or older to participate in the reunion. I only graduated from middle school, but I got one too. Well, I'm excited." Our alma mater is a well-known local girls' school, often referred to as a prestigious institution. I entered the middle school because I like my mother's alma mater and cute school uniform. However, the special environment of a girls' school did not suit me, so I went to another high school. Still, I have good friends from those middle school days. I was separated from my friends at a different high school, so I was glad to see them at the reunion. But my mother seems to be different.
If you want to go, then go ahead. I won't be attending.
I've never seen you attend a reunion. This year, I'll be there too. Let's go together.
I'm not going. I don't have a single good memory from my school days.
She looked so downcast that I became worried and peered into her face. "What's wrong with you? Did something bad happen?"
Well, yeah, but it's all in the distant past.
As her daughter, I shouldn't know about any bad experiences my mother had in high school. And she wouldn't be complaining to me now. I thought it unnecessary to ask her out, but I couldn't help expressing my concern. If there's someone nasty, you should just fight back. I hate to see you carrying such a painful past alone.
Fight back? No, that's just unthinkable.
I gave my mother a teasing smile as she looked at me in surprise. Maybe fight back was exaggerated, but don't you wonder, maybe the person who was mean to you back then is having a hard time now, or the one who bragged about being stylish has gained a lot of weight. She probably wondered why I bother confirming such a thing. My mother frowned at first, but then her expression lightened.
You're right, Madeline. I am a bit curious about what that girl is doing now. I wonder if she's still arrogant and has built her family with that attitude.
Mom, you're the chairperson of the medical welfare group now. You've grown a lot since high school, so be more confident. Your situation is totally different from when you were troubled by nasty classmates. Hearing my words, my mother's face brightened.
Yes, it's been 28 years since those days. I shouldn't be tied down by the past forever.
So she decided to go to the reunion. I'll be with you, so I'll protect you if anything happens.
Thank you. Let's go shopping for reunion outfits on our next day off.
And so, both my mother and I decided to attend the reunion. Despite what I said to Mother, there was someone I didn't want to see. She is Mara Norwood. She was a wealthy family, her grandfather a bank executive and her father a regional bank president. Mara would approach classmates who seemed weaker than herself, make them her followers, or look down on them while endlessly boasting about herself. She was nicknamed Princess, and some classmates clearly avoided her. I treated Mara normally, not overly submissive, but this seemed to irritate her. She has been looking for a topic and talking to me in a condescending attitude.
That pencil case looks pretty cheap. Where did you buy it? How much was it?
At a store near the station for $3.
What? $3? I never knew there were pencil cases that cheap. Mine is a designer goods. Daddy bought it for $200.
While saying this, Mara once flaunted her expensive pencil case in front of me.
That's nice.
I responded with a wry smile, and Mara sneered, saying,
I heard from my mom that you're from a single-parent family, right? It must be tough without a dad, having to use a $3 pencil case. So, what does your mom do?
She works at a nursing home.
At a nursing home. Taking care of old men and women, right? I can't believe people do such a dirty and smelly job.
I can't forget the scornful look Mara gave me at that moment.
Oh yeah, your mother only has jobs people don't do, because your family is poor.
Nursing is a tough but necessary job, and I respect my grandmother and mother who find their calling in it. Doesn't Mara ever think that she or her family might need such care when they get old? From that day, I stopped interacting with Mara. Then, other classmates began to speak unkind words to me.
That girl, she doesn't have a father, right? She's so poor. She can't buy what she wants. And her mom does that dirty and smelly job.
Mara must have told the other classmates about me being raised by a single parent. Some friends I thought were good friends stopped talking to me because they were worried about Mara's eyes. On the other hand, people who didn't think well of her told me a lot of bad things about her and asked me to agree. You think so, don't you? Tired of this girl group dynamic, I decided to go to a different high school. I never told my busy mother about this until now. And then, on the day of the reunion, I took a deep breath with my mother before entering the venue. The reunion was a standing-up party, but tables were organized by age group. My mother and I headed to our respective tables. My mother seemed to have met a friend right away, saying, "Long time no see. How have you been? It's been a while." "I'm good, but work has been busy and tiring lately." Her voice sounded happy. I was glad we came together. As I approached my table, I heard a shrill woman's voice.
I thought there was a poorly dressed woman here, and it was you.
I turned to look at someone's loud voice in surprise and found my mother tangled with a woman in a fancy dress. One of Mom's friends arguing in her defense.
Everyone has changed since then.
Exactly. Looking down on people and laughing is so immature.
The woman looked at me as I ran to my mother and said,
"Oh, the cheeky daughter is here too."
I saw the woman up close and knew immediately who she was. It was Mara's mother. I had heard that Mara's mother was an alumna, but I never realized she was my mother's classmate. Then Mara, resembling her mother, approached me.
"Wow, Madeline, you only finished middle school. How could you attend? Did you pay the reunion fee?"
Mara said with a grin. Her mother chimed in.
"It's such a disgrace when poor people like you ruin a glamorous event."
As I bit my lip in frustration, my mother boldly retorted,
Enough with the condescension. It's been 28 years since high school. We've all worked hard and built our lives, which are completely different now. Besides, I am a client at your bank, Kate.
As soon as they heard my mother's words, Mara and her mother started laughing.
"What? A poor single parent is a client at our bank? Don't make me laugh. How much have you deposited? A few $1,000s, or just a few hundred?"
Without bothering us, Mara started talking, but I couldn't believe her words.
"A poor single parent is not needed. The bank doesn't have time to deal with poor clients like you. Just go ahead and close your meager accounts."
The friends and classmates around were shocked by the outrageous behavior of Mara and her mother. Angered by their arrogance, I impulsively said to Mom, "Let's close the account."
"Oh, your daughter is very understanding."
Mara's mother looked down on me and smiled invincibly. "We don't want to deposit our money in the bank where people judge others based on their family situation," I stated firmly, and Mara and her mother looked at each other and burst into laughter again.
"That's right. Poor people should hold on to every penny they have, right?"
My mother sighed at their continued laughter and said, "Tomorrow, we'll go to the bank to discuss closing the account," but it seemed they weren't listening.
we briefly greeted our close friends and left the reunion early to talk about our school days over dinner. After my mother contacted the bank the next day, we both went there. We met with the bank representative and the branch manager, as well as Mara's father, who is the president of the regional bank.
I am terribly sorry for the rude behavior of my wife and daughter. I will make sure to speak to them firmly, so please reconsider closing the account.
When the president said that, 3 men also begged us. Scolding them is not the point, I said with a sigh, pulling out my phone and placing it on the reception desk.
What? A poor single parent is a client at our bank. Don't make me laugh. How much have you deposited? A few $1,000s, or just a few hundred?
A poor single parent is not needed. The bank doesn't have time to deal with poor clients like you. Just go ahead and close your meager accounts.
The phone played the recording of Mara and Kate mocking words from the previous day. Hearing the audio, the bank president's face turned even paler.
After being treated like this by Kate and Mara, we cannot continue our business with your bank.
However, our families have been in business since your grandmother started her company.
The president pleaded, and my mother calmly replied,
Sure, and if my mother didn't have a close relationship with you guys, I would have canceled earlier, because I was harassed a lot by Kate when I was a student.
I had heard about Mom's school experiences during our dinner the night before, and the harassment from Kate mirrored Mara's behavior towards me. It was truly a case of like mother, like daughter. It was clear why Mother had been reluctant to attend the reunion.
We wanted an apology from them, not just from you.
Well, my wife and daughter are a bit difficult.
The president probably felt that having Kate and Maria in this discussion would be even more troublesome. He seemed to be looking for a way to calm the situation without escalating it further. At that moment, the reception room door swung open.
How dare you record my voice? That's sneaky.
What are you going to do with it? Go to a lawyer or the police.
Both of you, I told you not to come in. Stay outside.
The bank president hastily tried to shoo them away, but my mother told him,
There's no need to send them out. I wanted to hear directly from them.
The bank president reluctantly let them stay.
As if it matters if a poor single parent closes their account. Our bank gains nothing. This meeting is a waste of time.
Why does Dad apologize to these people? Just go ahead and close the account.
The president hastily stopped Kate from criticizing my mother as a poor single parent.
Do you know who this person is? She's the chairperson of that medical welfare group. Our bank's top client.
After the president shouted at them, I am very sorry that my wife and daughter are so ignorant and have been so rude. The president urged them to apologize to me and my mother. They didn't even understand why they were being scolded.
Do you two know at Medical Welfare Group, which I run?
My mother asked, and Kate made an annoyed face.
A hospital. So you're bragging because you're the chairperson.
Hearing this, I was astonished at her ignorance, and my mother looked appalled.
It's not a hospital, but a corporation managing 80 care facilities nationwide. Our corporation's funds, totaling $200 million, are all deposited in this bank. We came here to close all those accounts.
My mother explained, but Kate seemed to catch only parts of the conversation. Mara looked utterly confused.
$200 million. But how? You're just a poor single parent.
Next to the dumbfounded Kate, the president looked like he was about to cry.
That's why I've been saying she's our most important client. If she closes her account, we lose $200 million in deposits, which would be a massive loss. And if everyone from a medical welfare group closes their accounts, the damage will be unimaginable.
What? That's really bad.
Have you just realized that now?
What? What have we done?
Finally grasping the gravity of the situation, Kate and Mara's complexions changed as if they were about to faint. Just then, a bank employee knocked on the door. A flustered bank employee was whispering something to the bank president.
No way. This is the end.
As the president collapsed to his knees in shock, Mara panicked.
Dad, what's wrong?
The employee then spoke up.
Some individuals claiming to be alumni of New Green Girls School have been calling to discuss closing their accounts.
Hearing this, Kate and Mara hurried out of the reception room. The trouble seemed far from us now.
Kate and Mara looked down on me as a poor single parent, without any sign of remorse. The president didn't show any sincere apology or effort. We cannot trust such a bank. Please proceed with closing our accounts immediately.
Yes. I'm terribly sorry. We'll start the account closure process right away.
Overwhelmed by my mother's sword fight, the president couldn't hide his agitation and ordered the branch manager to prepare documents. I was horrified to think that I had ever deposited important funds in such a sloppy bank. As we left the reception room after finalizing the account closure, we saw alumni from yesterday's reunion confronting Kate and Mara.
In high school, we were too scared to oppose Kate, but things are different now.
I run a company and have many business contacts. I've already advised them against using this bank.
Though we couldn't see Kate and Mara in the crowd, their apologies were audible. A friend noticed my mother and rushed over.
Sorry about yesterday. We couldn't stand up to Kate when she was so horrible to you.
It wasn't just yesterday. We've always been too scared to speak up against Kate in high school.
My mother had tears in her eyes when she saw a friend who cared and apologized.
It's not your fault. I've always been too scared of Kate, too.
This incident seemed to deepen the friendship between my mother and her friends. The classmates who had been afraid to speak up against Kate finally found her behavior intolerable after her remarks yesterday.
If you have time to apologize profusely, just go ahead and close my account.
Please proceed with closing the accounts of these people.
Mara and Kate said this and explained it to the bank employees, but they looked very bothered. The process was slow, and the two sat in discomfort for a long time. Afterward, the bank, having lost many customers, decided to change its president. The president's wife, Kate, and their daughter, Mara, who had lived arrogantly surrounded by followers, found themselves alone. Despite the loss of the main breadwinner's job, Mara and Kate's spending habits remained unchanged, leading to financial difficulties. The former president had long been in leadership. Mara had no work or household skills, and Kate had never even held a part-time job. The three couldn't find a decent job. Even the jobs they found ended quickly in termination. They even came to the nursing home where I work for a job interview. Caregiving jobs are short-staffed, so we don't reject applicants unless something happens.
I heard you would hire someone my age. Please, give me a job.
Please, we'll do anything. Just give us work.
Please, we're struggling.
But of course, my mother's response was,
We cannot hire those who looked down on caregiving work.
We turned away Mara and Kate, who left dejectedly. Later, Kate became reclusive. The former president developed dementia. and Mara dropped out of college to care for them both. Sometime after hearing these rumors, a gaunt Mary appeared before me.
I apologize for the past. I'm sorry. Please forgive my ignorance. I didn't understand how hard caregiving work is. It's so challenging even with my own parents, and now I greatly respect those who can care for others in the caregiving profession.
But it was too late for such realizations. If you and your family had realized this earlier, you wouldn't be in this predicament and could have enjoyed your later years in a luxury nursing facility. Upon hearing this, Mara broke down in tears in public. A year after our last meeting, there was an inquiry from someone seeking a place in the nursing home. Wait, Kate Norwood, could it be? To my surprise, the application confirmed it was indeed Kate seeking admission. When I saw Kate for the first time in a year, she looked old enough to be a different person. But even more unusual was her attendant, Mara. She appeared so aged beyond her 20s that one probably wouldn't recognize her if I saw her on the street. Facing such a tragic figure, I had to deliver the harsh truth. You're looking for a place to stay, but we currently have no vacancies, and there's a long waiting list, so immediate admission is difficult. Mara's eyes widened at my words. Her eyes were as if tears were falling.
Can't you make an exception? My mother's condition is worsening faster than my father's. She's started wandering, and I can't manage alone.
Mara's tears overflowed as she described her dire situation. But my answer remained firm. There's nothing we can do. Mara hung her head and left with Kate, who was speaking incomprehensibly. That was the last time I was involved with the Norwood family. Meanwhile, my mother and I continue to work hard at the medical welfare group and the understaffed nursing home. To support my mother, I am working hard as a staff member at the nursing home today as well. I am striving for the day I can succeed her as the chairperson, diligently focusing on the tasks at hand.
The groom suddenly picked up a plate full of food and hurled it onto the floor, causing the sauce to splatter dramatically across the carpet.
My bad. Slipped right out of my hand.
He was looking down at me and laughing heartily, announcing to everyone,
This buddy of mine sitting right here is a cleaner. He's used to handling messes, so let's leave it to him. Can you take care of this, Mr. Cleaner?
When I refused it, the bride stood in front of me, blocking my way.
My husband said, "You're the scum of society. Don't you dare talk back to an elite like that."
Then, my wife appeared out of nowhere and tapped the bride on the shoulder from behind. With a beaming smile, she declared,
"I'll ask my dad to erase the groom's seat at work."
Right after these words, the bride and groom were faced with a shocking reality, causing them to collapse to their knees. My name is Brian Smith, 26 years old. I lost my parents in an accident during my sophomore year of college. Drowning in grief, I dropped out of college and was despairing over life until someone's support helped me recover. Now, I'm working as a cleaner. I married Emily, a peer of mine, who graduated from a top university and worked at a major bank when I was 25. She was a corporate sales representative at her branch, known for her agility that matched any man's and her meticulous work that leveraged her femininity, steadily improving her sales record, and even being whispered about as a future female executive.
"I dream of working at the heart of the U.S. economy,"
she would say with sparkling eyes. During our dating days, I always wondered if someone like me, mismatched in education and job, could truly make her happy. but Emily would just laugh off such concerns. I still remember as if it was yesterday, the day she tearfully accepted my proposal. Even she had her weaknesses, though.
Well, let's see.
Emily said so, staring at me from across the table as I ate. Emily had come home early from work for the first time and put her all into making dinner after watching a recipe video. The cream pasta she made, to be honest, wasn't great. The pasta was overcooked, the sauce was bland, and the broccoli was still hard. But for me, it wasn't about the taste. I was just happy that she tried so hard. Yay, it's delicious, I said, trying to eat as much as I could without her noticing. However, Emily propped her cheek in her hand with a disappointed look.
Ryan, your nose expands when you lie.
I instinctively covered my nose with my hand.
Why? I followed the recipe exactly.
I couldn't help but laugh as I watched her cradle her head in despair.
That's awful. Laughing at me.
Emily puffed up her cheeks and glared at me. Oh, I am sorry. I just thought you looked so cute. You're good at your job and manage everything so smoothly, but it seems like cooking is your only weak spot. She crossed her arms and looked at me sternly, as if analyzing herself after I said that.
You know, my parents are divorced, right? My mom took me in but was too busy with work and did not cook much. We mostly had takeout or ate out, so I was never interested in cooking. So, you see, it's all my dad's fault that I can't cook.
I looked at my pouting wife and asked her something I had always wondered about. Hey, have you ever seen your dad?
I met him once when I joined the bank. We talk on the phone a few times a year.
It's better to see him when you can. You never know when you might suddenly never get the chance again. I was reminiscing about my deceased parents.
Brian.
Emily said, I'll think about it. She placed her hand on mine on the table. That day, I was at work, tasked with cleaning the exterior walls of a certain office building. It had been a while since I was paired with Ken, a 45-year-old senior coworker. Ken was a senior cleaner, holding a cleaning technician certification. He was the person the president trusted the most. Our job for the day involved rope access work, performed by dangling from the roof. We call it swing work, since we sat on a swing-like setup to do the job. I'm not particularly afraid of heights, but the work was nerve-wracking since one mistake could lead to an accident.
Brian, remember to check the equipment. The president has specifically asked me to make sure you don't get into any accidents. We can't have Emily becoming a young widow.
Yes, sir. Taking Ken's words to heart, I carefully went about my tasks, one by one. After 5 hours of work, we had safely completed all our tasks. I was putting away the pylons and ropes we used to mark off the work area. Suddenly, someone called my name.
Brian?
Surprised, I turned around to find Tom Brown, who was in the same seminar as me in college. Oh, Tom! I exclaimed, surprised, and took off my helmet. Tom looked me up and down and sneered as he said,
Really? You dropped out of college to become a cleaner. That's pretty bad, man.
Tom had always been like this. He always judged people based on their appearance, job, and income. He decided how to interact with someone based on whether there was any benefit for him. I wasn't surprised, but he was still as unlikable as ever. "What are you doing for work now?" I asked him in disgust as I bundled the rope.
Me? Oh, nothing much, just a humble bank employee.
He said so, circling in front of me to straighten his suit collar and flaunt his company badge. I recognized that badge. That badge is the same as Emily's bank. Tom and Emily work at the same bank. I couldn't hide my dismay. Seeing my reaction, Tom smirked smugly. "Yay, it's a tough job. I've got to go now." I wanted to leave quickly, fearing further interaction with him might negatively impact Emily's work. Then Tom said,
"Oh, yeah, I'm getting married next month. A lot of old college friends will be there, so you should definitely come to the reception. Everyone will be thrilled."
I spat in disgust internally, as if I'd attend your wedding reception. However, I decided to keep my cool, especially since he's Emily's coworker. Given I didn't know the nature of Tom and Emily's relationship, it seemed wise to keep things amicable for now. "Congratulations. I'd love to attend and celebrate, but..." Tom was grinning at me. He was expecting me to be ashamed of my background and feel out of place at an elite wedding, giving him a reason to mock me in front of others over drinks. "Fine, if that's how you want it, I'll proudly attend. There's nothing about my life I'm ashamed of." I had lost all semblance of calm. With a broad smile, I declared, "Absolutely, I'd be delighted to attend your wedding reception." Upon hearing my words, Tom appeared surprisingly shocked, his eyes sparkling as he looked at me. It was the gaze of a hyena that had spotted its prey. He smirked, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Perhaps he had concocted some sort of entertainment plan to make a fool of me in front of the elite group attending the reception.
"I'm thrilled. I'll send you an invite soon,"
Tom said before leaving the scene. I watched his back as he walked away, already filled with regret. Later, I received an invitation to Tom's wedding reception.
No way. Brian, you know Tom Brown?
In the evening, as I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, Emily came home and exclaimed upon seeing the invitation addressed to me on the table amidst the mail. "We were in the same seminar during college. He works at the same bank as you, Emily, and do you know him?"
Know him? He's my peer, and he transferred to our branch at the same time as me. We're working together in corporate sales now, so look.
Emily said, pulling out her own invitation from her bag to show me. "Are we both going to the same wedding reception?" Learning that Tom and Emily were in the same branch and handled the same corporate sales, I regretted even more having accepted the invitation.
The world is really small, huh? To think Tom is a friend of yours, Brian. From now on, no matter how much it irritates me, I'll try not to push him away and work on building a better relationship,"
Emily said with a reflective tone while eating dinner. "What do you mean by that?" I was curious and asked.
"Well, actually,"
Emily then shared with me her experiences between her and Tom. Tom, also in corporate sales, had a habit of looking down on others because of their family background or education, often belittling his colleagues and juniors. This attitude disrupted team cohesion, worsened the workplace atmosphere, and negatively impacted the work of those belittled. Emily, having top sales performance and graduating from a prestigious university, was not looked down upon. However, he told her blatantly that you use women as weapons, and he envied her. Moreover, Tom was known to grant aggressive loans to clients to meet sales quotas, and he shouted, "Don't overstep your bounds as a woman," when Emily subtly cautioned him once.
I'm sorry to say this about your friend, but he's the worst. That's why I decided to stay away from him.
He's not my friend, I said, slamming down my fork, unable to hide my anger. I couldn't hide my anger at Emily's story.
But I thought you were close enough to be invited to his wedding.
It's fine. That guy has been rotten since our college days. It's better if we just keep our distance from now on. I'm sorry for making you feel uncomfortable. I said it as if spitting it out.
Why are you apologizing, Brian?
Emily laughed, looking at me curiously. I usually don't show negative emotions in front of Emily, so she seemed a bit surprised too. Yeah, you're right. I hurriedly put on a smile to cover up, but I couldn't hide my agitation. I couldn't stand Tom's frivolous behavior, mocking with women, without knowing how Emily comes home exhausted to the point of being a run-out rag after working late every day. Emily isn't the kind of person to use her femininity as a weapon. Her sincerity, straightforward and everything, is something I know better than anyone. I met Emily 3 years ago, while cleaning the floors of a certain building. That building, housing several large corporations, was a large one with contracts for regular cleaning, in addition to daily maintenance. That day was for cleaning the floors of shared areas, like lobbies and corridors. Since it was a weekday midday task, the lobby was divided in half with caution tape to ensure a walkable area, and the work was done using a specialized machine. The work was progressing smoothly, and the dirty floors were quickly regaining their shine. I love this moment of looking back. Just a little more, let's push through. I muttered to myself to get pumped up. Then, a young male employee from some company, returning from outside, happened by. The moment he passed by me, he carelessly threw the trash bag he was carrying onto the floor where the detergent had been applied.
Throw that away too,
the man said. I picked it up and looked inside. It was lunch left over from a convenience store and an empty coffee can, probably from a break in some park during his rounds. Hey, wait. I called out to the man's back, but the young man walked away without turning back. I was furious, but I didn't want to cause trouble and risk losing the cleaning contract for the building, so I decided to bear it and go back to work. At that moment, a woman snatched the trash bag from my hand and ran after the man.
Please wait,
she shouted, dashing after the young man. I watched in astonishment.
You should clean up your own trash. Even kindergartners know that.
The woman said that, thrusting the trash bag back at the man who was waiting for the elevator. Reluctantly, the man took it and got into the elevator. The woman then ran back to me, smiling, and said,
I was a track athlete when I was a student.
I was instantly captivated by her carefree smile. It was love at first sight for me. And then, fumblingly, we exchanged contact information. It was the first time in my life something like this had happened. This was my encounter with Emily. Emily, full of a sense of justice, could see things straight. My wife is not someone to be trifled with by scum like Tom. I was only worried about protecting Emily from any more discomfort caused by Ethan. Should I cancel our attendance to Tom's event even now? But canceling at this point might inconvenience the other party. Tom probably doesn't know we're married, so acting like strangers at the reception might be best. We married while you were at the previous branch, so your coworkers wouldn't know me either. That's what I told Emily. I didn't want to burden her with any more worries, especially since she's already going through a tough time.
Why? Why would you want to hide something like that?
Emily looked puzzled. It's understandable since she doesn't know the situation. It's just to avoid any trouble. That's okay, right? Seeing my serious face, Emily reluctantly agreed. On the day of the wedding, Tom's reception was held at a top hotel in New York, attended by 500 guests, a large-scale event. Tom's bride was a 23-year-old woman named Marissa, apparently the daughter of a wealthy family that owns a chain of restaurants. There were VIPs present, likely business associates of the bride's father, along with influential figures from the city. I was seated at a table for friends of the groom. Emily, sitting at a table for bank associates a bit away, was keeping our promise to act like strangers. As soon as I took my seat at a table for 8, I received cold stares from Tom's entourage. Then, they smirked at me while conspicuously updating each other about their recent activities. The names of major corporations like big securities companies, construction firms, and trading companies were mentioned in the conversation. Among them, a man named Clint, sitting next to me, struck up a conversation.
It's been a while, Brian. It's been 6 years since you left college, right? What are you doing now?
Clint was the only decent guy to talk to here. Rumor has it, he started his own business while in college and now owns an IT company. Hi Clint, it's been a while. I'm now working in cleaning.
Hey, Clint, give it a rest, man.
Before I could finish, one of the guys cut me off.
Don't you feel sorry for him? A dropout living as a cleaner, trying to blend in with the elites. Just leave him be.
Then, the others smirked and laughed while looking at me.
Can't believe he had the nerve to show up.
The disgrace of our college.
They said, loud enough for me to hear. Clint looked at me, puzzled, so I gestured back that I was okay. Even after the bride and groom entered and the reception started, the verbal attacks on me didn't stop. I was prepared for this, being Tom's friend, but I couldn't understand why they demeaned my job. Clint whispering, "Don't mind them," and smiling was the only consolation. This happened when the bride and groom came to our table during the candle service.
Brian, thank you for coming today. I'm glad you're here.
Tom said, smirking down at me. Congratulations. I said that and nodded to the bride as well. The bride, Marissa, seemed young and pretty at first glance, but it felt like her beauty was masked with makeup. What bothered me more was her seemingly unintelligent way of speaking.
Damn, my arm is tired, Tom, do it by yourself.
Marissa puffed her cheeks like a child, saying that, with too much blush, She looked like she had mumps.
Marissa, honey, just a little longer, okay? Let's do our best.
Tom soothed her with a purring voice, while the others at the table exchanged looks and chuckled. I was holding back laughter too. Then Tom suddenly accused me. "Brian, you just laughed, didn't you?" with his devilish and pale face. No, not really. I wondered if my inner laughter had somehow leaked out without my notice. Then, Tom abruptly grabbed a plate of half-eaten food from in front of me and dumped it on the floor.
Yikes, no.
Marissa shrieked in a voice resembling a scream. The sauce splashes all over the expensive carpet on the floor.
My bad, slipped out of my hand.
Tom laughed mockingly while looking down at me. People from nearby tables turned their attention to us, wondering what was happening. A female staff member rushed over to clean up, but Tom stopped her, saying,
"No worries, my friend sitting here is a cleaner, accustomed to dealing with dirty things. Let him handle it, please, Mr. Cleaner."
But we can't ask your guests to do that.
As the female staff hesitated, Marissa intervened. "Just do as Tom says," and dismissed the staff member. I was beyond angry, simply dumbfounded. Marissa looked at me with a mocking laugh, just like Tom. "You two are a match made in heaven, perfect for each other," I muttered to myself with a laugh.
"What?"
Tom's face turned sour as he confronted me. Ignoring him, I stood up and advised the staff member, "For first aid, please dampen a cloth with lukewarm water, soak it with a neutral detergent, and tap it to transfer the stain onto the cloth. It's best to get it cleaned by a professional as soon as possible." Then I turned to Tom, glaring, and said, "I'm a professional in cleaning. If you want me to clean for you, come to my company and make a formal request." I threw a napkin onto the chair and was about to leave. Then Marissa blocked my way.
My husband called you social trash. Don't think you can defy an elite being trash yourself.
I gazed at her, marveling at how different she was from Emily, completely different creature. Then, I noticed Emily standing behind the bride. "Emily." Surprised, I watched as Emily gently tapped the bride's shoulder and announced with a bright smile,
"I'll ask my dad to erase the groom's seat at work."
Marissa shook off her hand, bewildered. What are you talking about? That's impossible. And who are you?"
"Emily, what's wrong with you? Are you drunk? Save your sleep talk for bed. Keep out if it's none of your business."
Tom tried to push Emily aside. I instinctively blocked his hand, stepping forward to protect Emily. Emily's maiden name was Wilson, and she used it professionally. Her real father, the bank branch manager, suddenly appeared with a laugh, tension instantly filling the air.
"The sense of justice you have is truly your father's, Miss Emily."
The branch manager. "I apologize for showing you such an unsightly scene."
The manager, looking at Emily with a sense of regret, added,
"I know you're busy, but try to call your dad sometimes. He seemed lonely when I saw him at the headquarters recently."
Yes, I will."
Emily said, looking embarrassed.
"The branch manager to have you here today."
Tom, flustered, tried to step forward, pushing me aside, but the manager ignored him and spoke to me.
Oh, Brian, it's been a while. How is the President Carol doing?
What?
Tom stared at me, dumbfounded. Sorry for the late greeting, branch manager. My aunt is as energetic as ever, working hard every day. The manager nodded with a smile.
I heard she's launching a new welfare-related business. She's thrilled to have you as her successor. It gives her work more purpose.
Tom and Marissa looked at us bewilderedly.
The branch manager is Emily's father.
This person isn't just a cleaner.
The branch manager said with an exasperated look.
What, you didn't know? Her father is Mr. Wilson, the head of the HR department. This man, Brian Smith, is the nephew of the president of Smith Corporation, which owns many subsidiaries related to cleaning services, and he's the next president. He's also Emily's husband.
What? The head of HR, the next president, and her husband.
Tom turned pale and staggered backward in panic. Marissa looked equally flustered.
But he was wearing a work uniform, cleaning the building.
When Tom pointed at me, the branch manager looked at me admiringly and said,
The president's policy is that executives involved in management must undergo several years of field training. Understanding the field's hardships is considered crucial for managing the company. It's truly a remarkable company.
Then, turning to Tom, he continued,
Smith Corporation is a significant client for our branch. If this incident leads to a cessation of business, you will undoubtedly be put out. And if you've also made a bad impression on the head of HR, there's no saving you. Well, try your best with your lovely bride wherever you go.
With a laugh, stating he had another appointment, the branch manager excused himself.
Branch manager, wait.
Tom and Marissa timidly turned back to us.
Well, Brian and Emily. I mean.
Tom forced an awkward smile, looking back and forth between us. Sorry, Tom, but we'll be taking our leave now. As the next president, I need to discuss changing our main bank with our president, I said, and Emily added,
I also have to hurry and call my dad.
Tom clings to us desperately.
Come on, Emily, please, Brian, aren't you my friend?
We are friends, no way. Don't make me laugh. I brush off Tom's hand and say, You're done for. Tom collapses to his knees, crestfallen. Emily and I leave together, walking away from the scene. As we open the doors to leave the venue, we heard Marissa's screams behind us.
What? You're getting fired from the bank? This is no joke. Call off the wedding right now. I refuse to marry a man like this. Daddy, do something.
The venue starts buzzing with noise.
What? What are you talking about? I wouldn't want a foolish woman like you even if you begged.
Excuse me.
Emily and I hear this, look at each other, and share a laugh. We took a taxi from the hotel, got off at a convenience store near our house, and bought sandwiches and beer. Instead of the missed full-course French meal, we walked leisurely home, bathed in the sunset, feeling as if we were on a date for the first time in a while. Are you okay with how things turned out? Everyone at your bank found out about your father. I asked Emily this question midway across a bridge over a small river.
I grew up seeing my mother struggle after their divorce, never forgiving my father for being a workaholic and neglecting his family. That's why I've been working myself to death, choosing a general career position, even when they said it was impossible for a woman, thinking I wouldn't lose to men, to my father.
She said so with distant eyes. Then she continued,
But working at the same bank as my father, I finally understood my father's struggles. He must have had a hard time, too. So I hope to build a good relationship with my father from now on.
Emily leaned on the railing, looking at the river shimmering in the sunset. Then she turned to me.
I can think this way because of you, for always being there to support me gently. Thank you, Brian.
Emily's smile, tinged with the color of the setting sun, made me blush a bit. Then let's have dinner with your dad sometime. Emily nods happily at my suggestion. Some days later, according to what Emily told me, Tom's wedding reception turned out to be a complete disaster. It wasn't just the bride and groom. A massive fight broke out involving their parents and relatives, who had been against the marriage from the start. Naturally, the reception was called off, and the couple split up soon after, leading to the collapse of their relationship. As for Tom, he was later transferred to an affiliate of the bank. It's said he's completely off the track for promotion now. Ever since that incident, Tom seems to have become a much quieter person, but can people really change that quickly? I bet it won't be long before his true colors show again. A few years later, Emily was transferred back to the headquarters, where she thrived in the HR department's career group, organizing external training and programs to support the advancement of female employees. She was also pouring her efforts into creating a workplace environment where women could balance work and child-rearing, becoming a focal point for the media as a female executive. As for me, after completing my field training, I was under the president's wing, receiving formal education as his successor.
You're really starting to look the part in a suit. I wish my brother and sister-in-law could see you now.
Wearing an unfamiliar suit, I spent my days accompanying the president on visits to clients. Occasionally, he would say something like that and become teary-eyed. One evening, on my way home, I found myself watching the sunset from the usual bridge. Lately, I've been feeling especially grateful for having a fulfilling job. I wish I could tell my younger self, who had dropped out of college and was despairing over life after the sudden loss of my parents. Your future is very happy.
Brian?
I heard someone call my name, and I turned around to see Emily, walking towards me with a smile, waving her hand. Welcome back. You're home early today, aren't you? Emily approached me with a slight blush and said,
Today, I left work early and went to the doctor.
What? Are you feeling all right? I asked in surprise. Emily didn't answer directly, but, with a big smile, took an ultrasound picture out of her bag. She then covered half of her face with it and looked at me with teary eyes.
I'm 3 months pregnant.
Overwhelmed with joy, I instinctively hugged Emily.
We're going to be parents.
Emily said with tears in her voice. Oh, how I wish I could tell my past self. I am incredibly happy right now.
Sure, I grew up without much money and lived a poor life, but now, Emily has become a valuable employee who supports our company. She's not at all the person Mr. Brown thinks she is. Could you please reconsider? Saying this, I made my request to the couple. Then, I heard a chuckling laugh from the couple sitting ahead. Surprised, I looked up to find them glaring down at us with disdain.
Poor orphans should just go home.
Why would he smirk in such a situation? Seeing the cold, scornful look in the couple's eyes, I realized I had been looked at with the same eyes in my teens. Those who look at me like this hardly ever take me seriously, no matter what I say. Remembering such past experiences, I began to regain my composure. Understood. Excuse us. As I said that, I left the Brown residence with Emily. The next day, I worked alone in the office earlier than usual. I had trouble falling asleep the previous night and woke up earlier than usual that day. As I worked, I couldn't forget about the previous day's incident and turned on the office TV to distract myself. Then, employee bullying suspected at Chase Bank flashed on the TV screen. Surprised, I was glued to the news for a while before calling Emily.
Bro, good morning. What's up so early?
Can you turn on the TV? Chase Bank is being covered for a bullying issue. My name is John Smith. At 36, I manage a small construction company in a local area, leading a busy life every day. 3 years ago, the former president fell, and I took over as president. It might seem like a successful life to some, considering I became president at a young age. However, my life has been anything but easy. I have no memories of being loved by my parents or of sharing a proper meal with them. My parents were never steadily employed, drank from the daytime, and were quick to fight. Living under such parents, I couldn't have a proper student life and had to start working as soon as compulsory education ended. One day, exhausted from the unfamiliar work, my mother returned home after a long absence. Beside her was a small girl I didn't recognize. Ignoring my pondering, my mother coldly said,
"This is your sister from today. Take care of your sister, Emily."
Emily was just 3 years old at the time. My mother seemed to have grown tired of her constant crying and left her with me. From that day on, I worked during the day and took care of my sister. When we really couldn't afford it, I even took Emily to work with me. But a previous president and everyone at work were kind and took care of Emily. I loved this company, which I took over as president 3 years ago, bringing us to where we are today. Today, too, started early. I arrived at the office earlier than anyone, opened my laptop, and began reviewing construction site reports. After a while, I heard the office door open. "Emily, you're early today."
You too, bro. You're always working hard from early in the morning. Can I help with anything?
Looking towards the door, Emily entered the office with sleepy eyes. Since taking over as president 3 years ago, Emily has been working as an accounting clerk in this company. "No, I'm just checking reports. But are you getting enough rest lately?"
I'm as healthy as you see. Let me know if there's anything I can help with. Oh, and I have something I want to discuss with you. Do you have time today?
Well, I have no meetings today, so I'm free during lunch break.
Thanks. Then let's go to the diner nearby for lunch.
After finishing our conversation, Emily disappeared into the break room. Emily and I sold our family home a few years ago and now live alone in an apartment near the company. We considered living together, but Emily wanted to be independent and started living alone. After finishing my conversation with Emily, I returned my focus to the reports. Soon, other employees arrived, and another day at the office began. And just like that, the hectic morning work came to an end, and before I knew it, it was lunch break. Emily and I headed to the diner we had promised to meet at. As we entered and took our seats, I immediately addressed her. "Emily, why the sudden talk? What's going on?"
Well, actually, I've been seeing someone recently.
"Really? Someone I know?" I was taken aback by her words and couldn't help but interrupt with a question.
You probably don't know him. I go to the bank often for my accounting job, right? I got to know someone working there.
Chase Bank, right.
Yeah, we met a few times through work, and somehow we just got closer.
Chase Bank is a local bank operating in this area. It's a familiar institution for us since we use it for employee salaries and deposits.
And the person I'm seeing is Mr. Brown's son.
I was surprised by her revelation. I knew that Chase Bank's presidency was passed down through blood relatives. That the bank's president's son was Emily's partner. His son, you say? I'm honestly shocked. To think he's the son of the bank president. So, what did you want to talk about? Emily began to speak, looking somewhat troubled as she looked down.
His name is Michael, and I happened to be there when his father came to the bank the other day.
And?
I happened to overhear a conversation by chance. He was reprimanding an employee quite harshly.
Well, it's not good to scold someone in front of customers, but it's understandable to give subordinates a talking to about work.
But it was more like he was belittling their education. I heard Mr. Brown saying, "Don't talk back to me when you're not even from a well-known university."
That's awful. I've gotten angry at my employees or partners for making mistakes or being rude. But it's always about their actions, not their education. Judging someone based on their education is not acceptable.
Michael was there too, and he said, "My father has always valued education and career history. I want to continue seeing him, but I'm a bit scared of dealing with his father."
Emily confessed with a sad look. Emily and I don't boast of impressive educational backgrounds, but we've never felt inferior because of it. Emily, through self-study, has become competent in accounting, proving that a person's worth can't be measured by education alone. Emily, you have no reason to feel inferior about your life. If you ever have to deal with President Brown, I'm sure he'll come to understand and appreciate your character.
"Thanks, I hope so,"
she replied, and we left the diner. Emily continued her relationship with Michael, occasionally updating me about their situation. 2 months after our discussion, Emily arranged for me to meet Michael, her boyfriend, in person. After work, I headed to the restaurant where they were waiting. She had never introduced me to her boyfriends before, so this meeting signified her serious intentions with Michael. Feeling a bit nervous, I entered the restaurant. After telling the staff our reservation name, I was guided to our table.
"Hey, brother, thanks for making time today. Let me introduce you again. This is Michael Brown, my boyfriend."
She said that a bit shyly.
"Pleasure to meet you, John. I've always heard about you from Emily. Thank you for coming today."
Michael greeted me with a kind expression as he sat next to her. "Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from Emily as well. Thank you for setting up this meeting." Michael, dressed in a neatly tailored suit, looked very presentable. But his smile revealed a youthful friendliness. As we exchanged greetings, the conversation flowed smoothly. Over the course of the meal, we talked about how they met, Michael's job, and before we knew it, an hour had passed. The conversation naturally shifted to my company.
John, it's amazing. Being so young and already a company president is really impressive. I respect that.
That's not true. And Michael, you're going to take over your dad's position as president in the future, right?
That's the plan, but I still lack the knowledge and experience, so it's going to take some time.
Michael said that, continuing with a somewhat troubled expression.
Also, lately, my father has been making dismissive comments towards employees. It seems to be causing some frustration in my department.
I've heard a bit about that from Emily before. Is he the type to care about educational background and social standing?
Yes, he has always been like that. But I believe that you can judge a person solely on their past education or social status.
Hearing this, I felt a bit relieved. It was clear that Michael could see the true essence and character of people.
Emily has also told me about your past. I was indeed surprised at first, but that alone would not make me dislike Emily. I want to continue being with her.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Our conversation went on, and it was clear that they were in a relationship with a serious view of the future. Michael would surely make her happy. However, from what I've heard from Michael, his father seems to be quite concerned about appearances. While I support their future together, I doubt he would be pleased to hear about our past. Hearing their happy news brought relief, yet thinking about the future, I couldn't help feeling a bit anxious. With these mixed feelings, we finished our meal and headed home. A year has passed since meeting Michael, and a new fiscal year has begun. In October, our company expanded, adding 20 new employees. And we've taken on contracts for major construction projects exceeding $200 million. The company's performance and reputation have started to grow, allowing us to undertake various constructions. My workload has increased, leading to busier days. Emily and Michael continued their relationship, and over the past year, I've had several opportunities to dine with them. Today, after meetings with clients and site inspections, I returned to the office around 7 p.m., not expecting anyone to still be there. As I opened the office door, I was greeted with,
Welcome back, brother. You were checking sites today, right? Good job.
Emily, you're still here. You should head home and rest soon. Emily was beside her computer, surrounded by a calculator and piles of receipts, apparently working on something.
Actually, I have something to report to you.
What's up?
Well, last night, Michael and I went out for dinner, and he proposed to me on the way home.
Hearing this, I nearly spit out my tea in surprise. Really? That's great, Emily.
Thanks, brother. So, we talked about our future after he proposed, and we're thinking of visiting Michael's parents soon to greet them. Would you come with us?
Of course, that's fine. But have you talked to his parents before? As I asked, she looked a bit gloomy.
That's the thing, I haven't met them in person yet. I wonder if they'll approve.
It'll be okay. If you express your feelings clearly, I'm sure his parents will understand.
Thanks, as always. I feel like you're always saving me.
Well, I am your brother, after all. It's only natural.
Then, as a way of thanking you, I'll work even harder to support your company from now on.
With that, our conversation ended. A month has passed since then, and the day we were to greet Emily's future in-laws came. I was nervous from the morning, fidgeting as I got ready. Then, the doorbell rang. It was Emily coming to pick me up.
Morning, brother. Are you ready?
Yeah, all set. Let's go. Then, we drove to Michael's family home, the Brown residence. The Brown residence boasts the largest property in this neighborhood, a true mansion by any standard. Emily rang the doorbell with a nervous expression. Michael's father emerged from inside and led us to the living room. Michael was already waiting, which eased our tension slightly upon seeing a familiar face.
Thank you for coming today. My father will join us shortly. Please, have a seat.
At his invitation, we sat down on a large sofa. Emily seemed even more nervous sitting next to me. A few minutes later, the living room doors opened, and Michael's parents came in together. Emily and I greeted them, handing over a gift bag as a token of our visit.
I appreciate you coming all this way. Michael has told me about you. You must be Emily, and standing beside you must be your brother, John.
His father greeted us warmly. Contrary to our expectations of a cold reception.
Yes, it's nice to meet you. I'm Emily and I'm dating Michael. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us today.
Emily responded, seemingly sharing my surprise at their kindness. Following our greetings, Emily and Michael formally asked for their blessing to marry, which they gladly gave.
Have you already greeted both your parents? We'd like to hold a formal engagement ceremony before the registration, depending on the timing. How is that coming along?
Michael's father inquired, causing Emily and I to exchange looks. His inquiry revelated that Michael hadn't mentioned our estrangement from our parents. Seeing our troubled faces, Michael explained on our behalf.
Dad, I haven't mentioned this, but it seems Emily and John are estranged from their parents, who disappeared when they were young.
His father, surprised, interjected.
So, you two don't have parents. How did you grow up without them?
Just as I was about to speak up, Emily, sitting beside me, confidently responded to them.
Our parents left us before I could even remember. Since then, my brother, who was still a teenager, worked to raise me.
The couple looked at us with astonishment.
We agreed to this marriage because we heard she was the sister of a construction company president. To think we've drawn such a short straw, I'm sorry, but we cannot approve of this marriage. Michael must marry someone more elite and well-educated.
Angered by his remarks, I couldn't help but retort. Indeed, we grew up being poor, but Emily is now a valuable employee who supports our company. She's not at all the person you think she is. Please reconsider. I beg you. Saying this, I made my request to the couple. However, from the couple seated in front of us, a chuckle was heard. Surprised, I looked up to find them glaring down at us.
Poor orphans should just go home.
Why would he smirk in such a situation? Seeing their cold, disdainful eyes, I realized I had been looked at with the same eyes in my teens. Those who look at me this way rarely take me seriously. Remembering past experiences, I began to regain my composure. Understood. We'll take our leave. I said that as I took Emily and left the Brown residence. Emily followed silently behind me. Then, I drove her home. Unable to properly respond to her soft thank you and I'm sorry due to my anger. The next day, I was at the office early. Unable to sleep well and waking up earlier than usual. While working, I couldn't shake off the incident and turned on the TV for a distraction. To my surprise, the screen displayed employee bullying suspected at Chase Bank. I immediately called Emily.
Good morning, brother. What's up so early?
Can you turn on the TV? Chase Bank is being covered for a bullying issue. As she turned on her TV at home, sounds came through.
That's a Chase Bank employee, right? I've seen them a few times.
It seems an employee exposed President Brown's bullying to the media. The TV broadcasted recorded conversations between President Brown and an employee, along with interviews from other employees. After watching the news, Emily came straight to the office.
I can't believe he was involved in something like this. If it's gotten this much attention, the bank itself might be in jeopardy.
Yo, banks operate on trust. With the company's top brass acting like this, it'd make anyone nervous to keep their deposits there. As we talked, employees began arriving for work, all abuzz about the Chase Bank scandal. Several came to me, wanting to close their accounts, worried about potential repercussions on the companies and their personal deposits. After discussing it with Emily, we decided to close all company and employee accounts with the bank. Emily promptly started the cancellation process. After closing our accounts and working on opening new ones, a call came into the office.
Boss, a man claiming to be President Brown is calling for you.
Okay, I'll take it. I responded, and Brown's yelling voice came through immediately.
Is it true you've canceled all your accounts at once?
Yes. After seeing the news about the bullying issues, we thought it best to cancel given the uncertain future of the bank.
That bullying scandal is just some stupid employees stirring up trouble. It'll blow over soon. But canceling 5,500 accounts at once could endanger our bank's existence.
Closing an account is ultimately a personal choice. Our employees expressed a desire to close their accounts, and after discussion, we proceeded with the cancellations. I replied calmly, despite his furious tone. However, he seemed even more upset by my words, raising his voice further.
Are you kidding me? Is this some kind of revenge for yesterday? Is that it?
We didn't cancel our accounts as revenge for yesterday. Although I was truly angered by your words towards Emily, that has nothing to do with the account cancellation.
Losing so many accounts now puts our company in trouble. Can't you reconsider? I'll make it worth your while.
When I firmly declined, he softened his tone, almost pleading. He even mentioned something unbelievable. It sounded almost like a bribe. President Brown, born into wealth as the son of a bank president, seemed to believe everything could be solved with money. No, thank you. We decline. Perhaps instead, you should address the bullying issues you've caused in the past.
Huh? That's just weak people complaining. A little money to the press, and it's all settled. That's why I need more money now.
I was utterly dismayed by his corrupt mindset. The world isn't as simple as you think. Is there anything else? If not, I'll be hanging up. After ending the call, the scandal continued to unfold. with media coverage intensifying daily. I was busy with setting up a new bank account and ensuring payroll went smoothly. Emily has also been busy updating accounting books due to overtime. We were swamped with work, often staying late to finish. Then, one late evening, the office intercom rang.
Who could that be at this hour?
Emily wondered. She opened the door only to find a disheveled President Brown standing there. President Brown, what brings you here? Despite her greeting, he walked straight to me.
John, I'd like you to cancel the account closure. I've brought a reward today. Wouldn't this convince you?
He said that as he presented a thick envelope presumably filled with cash. I had clearly refused during our previous call. But he, it seems, could not accept that, insisting on a deal so selfishly. President Brown, as I've said before, we're not reconsidering. We're busy setting up new accounts, so please, if there's nothing else, we ask you to leave.
Even with this much money on the table, you won't reconsider. Then, I'll approve the marriage. How about that?
The engagement is completely unrelated. If Emily and Michael truly want to marry, they don't need your permission to do so.
Why won't you agree even though I'm pleading like this?
Frustrated, he bit his lip, glaring at me. It seems you've often solved problems with money, but not everything can be resolved that way, nor can a person's true nature be measured by their education, job history, or social status. What you need to see is the essence of people.
What are you talking about? Education and status are everything. With them, you can make money and grow into an excellent individual.
I sighed, unable to agree. As I've mentioned before, Emily and I grew up without parents. As a teenager, I struggled daily to provide us with enough to eat. We had no money at all. I didn't have an impressive education or work experience, but the previous president kindly hired me. Thanks to that opportunity, I've managed to grow the company significantly over the past few years. You can't judge a person's essence by their money, education, or status alone. Then, while looking down, he muttered weakly,
Was I wrong?
Then, he picked up the envelope filled with cash and left the office. A few days later, Brown held a press conference apologizing to the media and the public, confessing that the bullying issues were indeed his fault, and vowing to work on improving and regaining the public's trust for the company. It will surely take a long time to resolve all the issues, but I hope he doesn't give up and continues to address each one. Chase Bank is a precious company that the previous president worked hard to protect. I hope they make efforts to recover, keeping the previous president's spirit in mind. Today, Emily and I stayed late at the office again. I turned on the TV during a break and saw a report about the recent apology press conference. By the way, what happened with Michael after that?
He contacted me right after we visited for the marriage proposal, apologizing on behalf of his parents' behavior and words.
And what did you reply?
I haven't replied yet. I was too overwhelmed that day, and then the news broke the next day. I've been so busy I completely missed a chance to reply.
Michael is probably still waiting for your message. He's the one you decided to marry, after all. After a moment, Emily said,
You're right. I'll contact him. It seems like the company issues are heading towards a resolution, too.
3 months later, I was at a wedding venue. It was Emily and Michael's wedding. Waiting in the family room, I felt anxious for the couple. Then, Emily, in a beautiful dress, and Michael, in a sparkling tuxedo, approached me. Congratulations to both of you. I wish you a lifetime of happiness. Then, they shared a tender smile with each other, looking my way.
In a restaurant with a nice open terrace in Greenpoint. As I smoothly parked my pickup truck in front of it, I could hear my daughter, Emily's voice, who had arrived earlier.
That's my dad's car. He uses it for work.
Then, cutting her off, a man's raspy voice echoed.
Coming here in that kind of vehicle is so inappropriate. Is your father a high school graduate working in a factory?
Emily looked perplexed at his words. The owner of the raspy voice seemed to have had a few drinks already, grinning with a flushed face. It had been a while since I encountered someone who thought making such tasteless jokes was funny. After affixing a parking ticket to my pickup, I walked up to the man. I unbuttoned my freshly tailored jacket from the day before yesterday and presented my business card right under his red nose with utmost calm and friendliness. Here, I'm the president of a factory with an annual revenue of $50 million. Jack appeared taken aback. He was frantically searching the company name on my business card on his smartphone. No wonder. In Jack's worldview, someone who rides in a pickup couldn't possibly have a higher status than himself. Then, as if introducing myself, I began to recount my life story, answering his questions. My name is Victor. I'm a 63-year-old factory owner. The factory has grown significantly over the years, and so has the number of employees, but it took a lot of twists and turns to get to where I can talk about it like this. The story goes back to my childhood. Born as the son of a poor textile mill owner in the Midwest, I spent my childhood in hunger. I was born in the 1960s, a time when inexpensive and durable cotton products were being produced in large quantities in the U.S., causing the value of traditional textile mills to plummet. With that income, we couldn't make ends meet for the whole family, and there were times when my father had to kill a chicken that came into our yard to provide for our dinner that day. I was ordered by my father to do it several times, and the sound and the feel of it are still with me, making me recall those moments whenever I see chicken meat. One day, when my parents could no longer bear it on the factory's income alone, they started saying they were going to a community meeting, leaving me at home and not returning until late at night. The next morning, I would find a pile of flyers at the entrance. They were flyers for an invitation to join a new religious movement. Looking back, I think they were getting paid incentives by the cult for working as recruiters. What started as a recruitment effort for survival gradually consumed my parents' spirits. Every election, my mother would repeat in a frenzy,
Believers will be saved. So, if you vote for that party, everything will be saved.
That's right. If you give up your desires, you'll be liberated. So, you too.
It was always like this. No way could I have a proper life in such a home. I needed to leave.
I'm thinking of leaving.
Why, aren't you happy just being here?
I'm just fed up.
Don't you lack faith? Did you do your duty today? If you do your duty, you won't have to think about unnecessary things.
I'm leaving anyway.
Saying that, I packed my things and stormed out of the house. It was the night of an 18-year-old, just a bit away from graduating high school. The spring wind was blowing fiercely. It wasn't that I had nowhere to go. I had jotted down my uncle's address and phone number in my notes. My uncle, living in Fresno, was single but had been concerned about our family since I was young.
Whenever something comes up, give me a call. I feel like I understand what you're going through.
My uncle often told me that. Entering a phone booth, I dialed his number with trembling fingers, and his gruff voice answered,
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
It's Victor.
Victor. What's going on at this hour?
Well, I've run away from home.
There was a brief silence as if my uncle was thinking, but then he said,
Got it. Come to my place. I'll take care of you.
Soon after, I took a slow train to Fresno and ended up rolling into my uncle's house. My uncle was an electrician by trade and was often out during the day. The house was scattered with various tools and parts, like wire cutters and wrenches. What caught my eye, however, was a box-shaped machine fitted in the back of the room, unlike anything I had seen before. This box had knobs of various sizes on it. Once, while my uncle was away, I turned the knobs. Suddenly, a loud noise unlike anything I had heard before, along with intermittent faint beeping sounds, started coming out.
Interested?
Whoa.
I turned away in embarrassment as if caught in a misdeed when he spoke from behind me. However, my uncle was looking at me with excited eyes.
It's called ham radio. With this, you can communicate with people all over the world. How about that? Isn't it cool?
With people all over the world.
Yo, that's right. You can have conversations with people on the other side of the earth through invisible signals. If you want to know more, I'll teach you everything from scratch.
From then on, I became addicted to ham radio. I clung to my uncle day and night, fascinated by this strange box I had never seen before and the sounds from the other side of the globe that came from it. When my uncle was out, I would spend the night in front of the radio, deeply engrossed in communication, often realizing it was morning before I knew it. That's when I started helping with my uncle's work. I would hop into the passenger seat of my uncle's pickup truck and travel around Fresno for electrical work. Since the pickup didn't have a car stereo, my uncle would bring a radio into the car, teaching me various things in tune with its broadcast. I think more than half of the important things in life I learned in those conversations with my uncle in the pickup.
Listen, Victor. The key is to think calmly. No matter how tough the situation, analyze the current state, identify the problems, hypothesize, and then test. If you can do this, you're not likely to fail.
However, my uncle passed away due to an unforeseen accident during construction work. I couldn't get the details from the contractors, but it seems my uncle became a casualty trying to save a colleague who had made a mistake. I felt an unbearable sadness and frustration. The irony of my uncle, who had dedicated his passion to his work as an electrician, dying because of electricity, was not lost on me. With no other relatives, I inherited my uncle's house and a pickup truck. This left me alone again. But it was different from when I had left my parents' house. I was now equipped with the skills and knowledge of an electrician that my uncle had taught me, and more importantly, a belief and love for my work. Finding a job wasn't hard. The semiconductor boom was happening at the time, and the United States electrical industry was still vibrant. I interviewed at several factories and was eagerly recruited by all for my demonstrated skills. Eventually, I got a job at one of the largest factories, a name familiar to anyone, though in hindsight, I think it was a mistake. Within a few months, I had adapted to the work itself. It was a simple task of inspecting parts carried by a conveyor belt, a no-brainer compared to electrical engineering work. However, the real problem lay elsewhere. It was the constant berating and physical punishment from the factory manager. Whenever he was in a bad mood, he frequently stopped the line and called me over.
Victor, come here.
Yes.
What's with that attitude? You look bored with your work.
Yes, I'm sorry.
You probably think anyone can do this simple job. Don't get ahead of yourself. I'm the one employing you. You're still half-baked.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry isn't enough. Show me with your actions,
And with that, I'd receive a slap. On a good day, it would be 2, back and forth. This had become the routine. Yet, I was able to keep going because the pay was good. There was another reason I managed to continue working. It was meeting a woman who was in charge of the factory's accounting at the time. Her name was Ashley. Right after receiving a beating from the factory manager, Ashley would discreetly show concern for me and quietly offer me ointment where no one else could see.
I always see what's happening. It must be hard.
No, I'm used to it. Besides, the pay is good. I just think of it as including a bonus for the beatings.
That's too harsh. Please don't overdo it.
There was also a time when, after being slapped by the factory manager and bleeding from the mouth, Ashley gave me a handkerchief. Tucked inside the handkerchief was a note with her contact information, saying, "If there's anything I can do, please contact me anytime." Meeting Ashley certainly saved me in many ways. There's no doubt that she eased the feelings of gloom that had settled over me after my uncle's death. However, a decisive moment eventually arrived.
Hey, who did this?
One day, the factory manager stopped the line and yelled loudly enough for all the employees to hear. He is holding a significantly bent part in his hand.
If someone doesn't come forward now, I'll knock everyone down.
I knew who had checked that part. It was a new coworker next to me who, upon stealing a glance, was biting his lip, trembling. If I remained silent, everyone here would undoubtedly end up getting slapped. Thinking this, I instinctively raised my hand.
It was me.
What?
I'm sorry. I overlooked it.
Do you realize what you've done?
Yes. I deeply apologize.
The factory manager stood in front of me and slapped me across the face. Not satisfied with just that, he turned and delivered a knee strike to my midsection. I couldn't breathe, and as I squeezed my eyes shut, tears naturally started to flow.
Oh, you're crying. Even now, you're trying to be the tragic hero. Though with that face, you're too ugly for it.
With a look of triumph, the factory manager kicked me in the stomach with the tip of his shoe and walked away. That night, as I was cleaning up alone, Ashley stayed until the end.
Good work.
Good work.
The factory manager is terrible, isn't he? He doesn't have to say things like that.
It's okay. It would have taken more time if things continued that way. And we were already behind schedule.
Actually, that wasn't your fault, was it, Victor?
I fell silent.
I saw Ken, who works next to you on the line, inspecting parts while staggering.
Someone had to take responsibility.
But you didn't have to take it upon yourself, Victor.
It's okay. I won't be here much longer.
What?
Perhaps I was being reckless. But thinking about quitting was the truth.
I'm thinking of leaving this company. There are more interesting things to do. I want to do what I love.
Ashley was a woman who chose her words carefully.
That sounds really good. I want you to do what you love. I believe in you, and you should too. But I'll miss you if you're gone.
Saying that, Ashley looked down.
If you'd like, why don't you quit with me? And we can start a new factory together.
Her cheeks blushed. Even in the dimly lit factory, I could tell.
If we could do that, I'd be so happy.
And so, I decided to resign from the company with Ashley and start a new factory. In 1989, the year the Berlin Wall fell, Ashley and I got married. As an aside, the year after I left, an assault case occurred at the factory, and that factory manager was apparently arrested. It might have been a matter of time. Ashley and I launched a factory manufacturing semiconductor parts in 1990. I took on roles in sales and as a technician. Ashley handled all the accounting. However, initially, the business didn't go well. We barely made ends meet, primarily through electrical work I took on personally, rather than orders for parts. It wasn't surprising. The semiconductor industry was showing a declining trend. Considering the cost of assembly, it was impossible for a new small company to afford equipment for producing cutting-edge parts, so we specialized in technical expertise rather than production capacity, taking on manufacturing of parts. I never thought the skills I acquired in electrical work would come in handy in such a place. Whether it was because of that strategy or just luck, companies started to place orders, hearing that there are skilled craftsmen in that factory. It might have been the most fulfilling time of my life. Waking up early, going to the factory, and silently holding the soldering iron by myself. Or facing the machines that polish parts. Returning late at night, barely eating before falling asleep with Ashley. On rare days off, I glued myself to the amateur radio I inherited from my uncle. I think Ashley was incredibly accepting of such a husband. In the endlessly rotating days like a conveyor belt, Ashley and I had a daughter.
It's a girl. Hey, what do you think we should name her?
How about Emily after Ashley?
Is it okay to name her after me?
Yeah, I prefer that. Gus, we named our newborn daughter Emily. Emily was born healthy. But it was around this time, perhaps, Ashley's body began to harbor illness.
Unfortunately, your wife's condition has reached stage 3. At this stage, surgery would likely be ineffective.
Ashley had suddenly complained of severe abdominal pain while at work and was urgently hospitalized nearby. I rushed to the hospital upon hearing the news. I remember how the doctor's voice sounded unnervingly impersonal. The doctor informed me that Ashley had terminal pancreatic cancer. Can Ashley live?
I can say for certain, a 5-year survival rate for stage 3 pancreatic cancer patients is about 6 to 7%.
Why does it have to be Ashley? The doctor didn't answer my question. Instead, he started writing something on the chart and began preparing for the next patient.
I'm sorry for causing such a fuss.
When went for a visit with little Emily, Ashley was lying in the hospital bed, shrinking in size, but still managing a smile. Wearing the hospital gown made the petite Ashley look even smaller. Don't apologize. You've done nothing wrong.
But I still have today's accounting work for the factory left to do.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. When a loved one falls ill, you realize the preciousness of everyday life. Ashley's illness made me realize how happy I had been. But why, of all people, did it have to be Ashley?
Emily, make sure to support your dad, okay?
Yes.
Even young Emily seemed to understand the situation and smiled without any worries.
And you believe in yourself. I believe what you're trying to do is right.
Stop it. Don't be so formal.
No, I want to say it while I can.
Ashley was serious. The battle with her illness didn't last long. Perhaps that's what Ashley wanted. But now, there's no way to know for sure. Ashley's last expression was very peaceful. Ashley's glasses were placed inside her coffin, and I felt like I had lost everything. Had everything I'd done up to now been a mistake? I couldn't save Ashley. I had made her suffer. Maybe she wasn't happy. For a while, I couldn't focus on anything, not the machines I loved to tinker with, nor the amateur radio. The world seemed gray. Suddenly, while looking at the factory machines, I wondered what would happen if I stuck my head inside one of them. The machines I once loved and obsessed over now looked demonic. During those days of depression, I began to drown in alcohol. I knew I had to work, but my body wouldn't move. I started drinking from the morning and continued in a daze. Our savings ran dry, and without Emily knowing, I borrowed money from the newly popular consumer credit ATMs. Surprisingly, it was too easy to borrow money, which only made me feel more lost. I even thought it might be quicker to gamble with that money. Or I considered the worst-case scenarios. When I came home in a daze, the amateur radio was emitting noise. Perhaps the switch had been turned on by accident. But when I went to the room with the radio, Emily, who should have been at school, was standing in front of the desk, looking apologetic.
I just touched it a little, and now it won't stop.
I felt an overwhelming love for Emily. As soon as that thought crossed my mind, tears started flowing. I'm sorry, I haven't been able to do anything even though you're here, Emily. But Emily, unfazed by my sentimentality, was staring intently at the radio.
Dad, what is this?
Oh, this is a magical machine that lets you talk to people all over the world.
With people all over the world?
Yes, you can have conversations with people on the other side of the globe using invisible signals. If you want to know more, I'll teach you everything from scratch.
Really? Teach me.
Listening intently to the sounds coming from the radio, Emily's eyes sparkled with curiosity, and I saw a reflection of my younger self in her. That's right, Uncle. I remembered what my uncle taught me in the pickup truck.
Listen, Victor. The key is to use your head calmly. No matter how tough the situation, analyze the current state, identify the problems, formulate hypotheses, and then test them. If you can do this, you'll rarely fail.
My gray everyday life seemed to gradually regain its color. From that moment, I temporarily paused my electrical contracting work and shifted our core business to the manufacture of electronic machine parts. I focused on computer components. As personal computers became more widespread, I believed that an era was coming where everyone would carry a small computer with them at all times. Although we had fewer than 10 employees, they all respected my decision. About 10 years after deciding to shift our business, my factory was known in the industry for its high technical capabilities, becoming a well-regarded establishment among those in the know. The rapid growth of my factory in such a short period was largely due to the overall growth of the computer industry, especially the emergence of the smartphone in the United States, which experienced explosive growth. My factory had been developing small components for computers, but we adapted these components for smartphones, and the demand for these parts was tremendous. At that time, my daughter Emily was about to enter high school. She had been studying at a local public junior high school, where she consistently stood out for her academic performance. As a parent, I felt proud every time my daughter brought home perfect scores on her exams. When Emily brought home materials from a certain high school,
Dad, actually, I want to go to this school.
Looking at the materials, it was a prestigious private girls' high school affiliated with a well-known university. I was pleased that my daughter was thinking about her future so independently. At the same time, I reflected that supporting her through this application process was also a parent's duty. That sounds great. You should apply.
Really? Are you sure?
Is there a reason not to?
Well, there's the tuition fee.
Understanding Emily's concerns, I reassured her. Don't worry about money. Things are different now. The economy is good. Covering the tuition for one child isn't a big deal. Hearing this, Emily's face lit up with genuine happiness. And so, Emily successfully passed the entrance exams for the high school. However, this also meant that we would be spending thousands of dollars each year on tuition fees for the next 10 years. I braced myself for this. But my worries turned out to be unfounded. One day, as I was heading to work, one of my employees was frantically talking on the phone. Thinking it might be another weird complaint, I checked in only to find that the call was actually about something incredibly positive. What's going on?
Boss, you won't believe it. That big corporation wants to use our components in their new smartphones.
What? That big corporation was already a giant in the smartphone industry by then, although at the time it was still a name only known to a select few. Becoming a supplier for this company meant betting on a major business opportunity. What did they say on the phone?
They said they'll be visiting us soon and want to meet us in person to discuss.
We can't just sit here. Let's get ready. Everything went smoothly, and I successfully signed a contract with the corporation. The contract was worth millions of dollars. I was overwhelmed by the unprecedented amount, but knowing that this would allow me to provide for Emily filled me with joy. The fact that something I had created was in the hands of so many people still felt surreal. Uncle, I did it. Ashley, we did it. I reported our success and the hardships we overcame in front of their graves. I couldn't help but feel that both of them were smiling back at me. When the company's operations were well on track and Emily had become a college student, she came to me for advice, saying she was seeing someone. Hearing that her partner was the heir to a well-known bank, I thought I needed to dress appropriately for the occasion. So, I arrived today in my uncle's keepsake light truck. To me, this truck is more valuable than any luxury car, which is why I was a bit upset. I apologize. After finishing my story, Jack, who was to become my son-in-law's father, was wide-eyed in disbelief. It seemed he was desperate to maintain his own pride.
Such fairy tales don't exist in reality.
If you think it's a lie, please feel free to check. It's all on our company's website. As I said that, Jack began to fiddle with his smartphone. And it didn't take long for him to realize the truth. He visibly deflated, losing all his earlier bluster. Though he acted like a mega bank president, I knew he was actually just a branch manager. He had probably tried to assert his status, acting more important than usual. To drive the point home, I added, "The smartphone you're holding, made by that famous company, likely contains our parts. Thank you for always using them." After hearing that, Jack never spoke another word. Perhaps I had spoken too much. However, surprisingly, Jack's relatives seemed to take me in a positive light. Except for Emily, who seemed dissatisfied with how things went and chided me in the car on our way back.
You didn't have to say all that.
Really? Sorry. But wasn't he the one being unreasonable? If we let that slide, it would be like denying your mother's existence too.
No, I was happy you talked about it. But you didn't have to mention all those stories from when I was little in front of everyone.
Emily's face turned red, embarrassed. I see. But those things are important to me. Uncle, your mom, and you. You've all supported my life. I wanted to convey that properly. We both fell silent. The good thing about the light truck is that its engine noise drowns out any awkward silence. Feeling the oil smell and hearing the engine sound always brought me peace.
I'm thinking of calling off the engagement with him.
Is that so? The father was one thing, but his son seemed decent enough.
Yeah, he is decent. But sometimes, he treats me like a secretary or a maid, asking me to fetch things or memorize his schedule. I don't want to live like that.
Emily looked gloomy.
And actually, I really want to become a researcher in engineering, not just graduate college. I want to create new technologies to make people happy. But he doesn't seem to support me becoming a researcher. Maybe because I'm a woman.
Live the way you want to? I remembered what Ashley had once told me. Believe in yourself. Do what you love. I believe that what you want to do is right. I felt I understood how Ashley felt when she said those words to me. Time passed, and as expected, Emily's engagement fell through. Having their pride hurt was probably not easy for the other family. Emily seemed somewhat relieved when she told me it was over. To the world, it might seem like she missed out on a golden opportunity, but real happiness lies elsewhere. Afterward, Emily graduated from college and decided to go to a graduate school in the United Kingdom. Though I had braced myself, saying goodbye was still hard.
Don't look so gloomy. It's not like we'll never see each other again.
But still, seeing your daughter leave home is...
Okay, I'm going now. Take care.
Be careful. Call me if anything happens. Waving goodbye, Emily went through the boarding gate to her flight to the United Kingdom. Months after that farewell, though I had acted strong at the airport, I found myself feeling a profound sadness in Emily's empty room. To distract myself from the loneliness, I turned to my amateur radio. It's a long-standing habit that felt like a part of me since moving in with my uncle. Hello CQ, hello CQ, hello CQ, this is Ya4TOC. If anyone is listening, I'd appreciate a call back. Over. Soon after, I received a response from a station in the United Kingdom. It was a woman's voice.
Hello CQ, hello CQ, hello CQ. This is W2Ya7KR. Go ahead.
I wondered when she had gotten her ham radio license. At first, I thought I had misheard because of my loneliness. But there was no mistaking it. I responded with my whole being to the voice of my beloved daughter, coming through this magical box. W2Ya7KR, thank you for your response. I'm so glad to hear you're doing well. Love, your father.